When you're flying 30,000 feet in the air, you'd think that your biggest concern is turbulence or a mechanical glitch. But for some pilots, the skies hide chilling, unexplainable horrors that defy all logic. Buckle in because we're counting down 10 terrifying things that pilots have seen at 30,000 feet. A flying humanoid over Texas. In 2020, a cargo plane crew was flying over Texas when they reported something utterly bizarre, what looked like a human figure floating beside their aircraft without any visible means of propulsion. The humanoid was reportedly flying in a standing position, arms by its side, and matching the plane's speed at over 300 miles per hour. The pilots initially thought that it might have been a drone or a parachutist, but radar showed nothing in the area. Even the FAA had no records of activity in the airspace. While drones can be fast, none commercially available can match that altitude and velocity without a visible propulsion system. The incident left both the pilots and air traffic control speechless. Was it a glitch in perception, a hallucination, or something far stranger taking a joyride in the skies? The Black Triangle over Illinois. In January of 2000, multiple commercial and police pilots witnessed a massive black triangle-shaped craft moving silently over Illinois. One of the most detailed accounts came from Officer Ed Barton, who described seeing the object from his squad car while coordinating with air traffic control. A pilot in a nearby commercial airliner also radioed in, confirming a dark triangular craft hovering with impossible steadiness. The object had no visible engines or wings and made no sound, completely violating what we thought we knew about aircraft physics. It was over 300 feet in length and hovered effortlessly before accelerating into the clouds at impossible speeds. What adds to the terror is that the government still hasn't provided any satisfactory explanation, and radar logs were conveniently lost. Whatever it wasn't ours, or at least not something we've been told about. A ghost plane over the Pacific. A commercial pilot flying over Tokyo to Los Angeles in 2014 reported a disturbing sight, a fully intact commercial aircraft flying dangerously close, but with no markings, lights, or signs of life. The pilot tried to communicate with the other cockpit via emergency radio channels, but there was no response. The air traffic control confirmed that there were no other planes within 100 miles. As the ghost plane drifted eerily alongside them, it suddenly veered off and disappeared into cloud cover. When investigators looked into it later, no radar evidence of another plane existed. Some speculated it was a secret military craft, but others whispered more chilling theories, phantom planes that echo past tragedies, forever flying routes that they never completed. The red orb that followed a flight to Miami. In 2017, a pilot en route from Colombia to Miami reported being followed by a glowing red orb that seemed to pace the aircraft effortlessly. The object wasn't on radar, didn't respond to any emergency radio calls, and changed direction with impossible sharpness. Passengers on the left side of the aircraft even saw it and began filming, although most footage turned up blurry or mysteriously corrupted. The pilot noted that the object maintained a consistent distance for over 30 minutes before shooting vertically into the sky at a blinding speed. When FAA investigators looked into it, they had no answers, only more questions. What kind of technology could outmaneuver a jetliner at cruising speed? And why did it seem to be observing the flight? A transparent entity on the wing. A FedEx pilot flying a night cargo run in 2012 over Utah reported seeing what he described as a transparent humanoid figure crouching near the wing. He initially thought that it was a hallucination due to fatigue, but when his co-pilot confirmed it, the fear became very real. The figure seemed semi-visible, shimmering like heat waves, and moved with uncanny ease despite the 500+ mile per hour wind. The pilots performed a sharp turn, attempting to shake it off or verify what they were seeing, but it vanished without a trace. Back on the ground, a maintenance inspection showed no signs of tampering or damage. The pilot, a former military aviator, said that it was the only time I've ever been too scared to fly again. The UFO encounter over Alaska. In 2020, a commercial pilot flying from Anchorage reported seeing 3 bright, fast-moving objects weaving between cloud layers. He initially thought that they were fighter jets, but their movement defied known capabilities, zigzagging, stopping mid-air, and then accelerating again. The pilot contacted NORAD, only to be told that there was no military exercises in the region. Moments later, all 3 objects formed a triangle formation and shot straight upwards, vanishing into the night. The incident was later partially confirmed by FAA logs, but heavily redacted. The pilot claimed the objects were intelligently controlled and watching us. He was advised to remain silent, but later leaked the encounter anonymously, saying people deserve to know what's in our skies. A giant eyeball in the clouds. During a flight over the Indian Ocean in 2015, an Australian pilot reported seeing an enormous eye staring out of a massive cloud formation. He dismissed it at first as an illusion caused by light or shadow, but then the eye blinked. It appeared organic, glossy, and moving independently of the cloud mass. It was accompanied by a feeling of intense dread. Instruments on the plane began to malfunction, briefly causing a communications blackout. When the pilot regained control, the cloud and the eye were gone, and he was later told by the airline to never speak of the incident publicly. Paranormal enthusiasts believe this may have been a rare atmospheric phenomenon or even a biological entity on a scale that's too large for us to comprehend. The winged creature over Mexico. In 2008, a pilot flying a private jet over Mexico reported a terrifying sight, a giant winged creature humanoid in shape flying beside the aircraft at over 20,000 feet. He described it as leathery bat-like and with glowing red eyes. The creature flapped its wings slowly, defying the speed and pressure of the high-altitude flight. The pilot managed to take a blurry photo, which later circulated on conspiracy forums but was dismissed by authorities. However, locals in the region reported seeing a similar creature days later on the ground. Some believe it may have been the infamous Mothman, making an appearance far from its usual haunts. Whatever it wasn't a bird, and it sure wasn't human. A passenger that wasn't there. A flight attendant once told a pilot mid-flight in 2016 that she kept seeing a man seated in 24A, even though that seat was confirmed to be empty. The pilot brushed it off until he went to check for himself and saw the figure. It was an older man in outdated clothing, staring blankly ahead. When the pilot turned to call the crew, the man vanished. Other passengers near the seat later complained of cold spots and strange feelings. When the flight landed, a deep search of records revealed that a man may have died in that very seat years prior on the exact same flight path. The incident has become one of the most whispered about hauntings in aviation circles. The floating city in the clouds. In 2023, multiple pilots flying over China's Hunan province reported a surreal sight, what looked like an entire floating city complete with skyscrapers and lights suspended above the clouds. The vision lasted for several minutes and was seen by passengers and pilots across different airlines. Videos surfaced online and were immediately dismissed by authorities as a mirage. However, experts questioned how so many independent sources could report such a complex, consistent illusion. The structures had impossible architectural features, bending and floating as though the gravity itself had no effect. Some believe it was a rip in space-time. Others think it was something much worse, a glimpse into another dimension bleeding into ours at 30,000 feet. So that's it. Leave a comment letting me know what you guys thought of this video, leave a like, and subscribe because you won't want to miss the next video. Thanks for watching.